Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. It's Cynicalex, and it's been a long time, a couple months since we did a tier list update. And the reason why we haven't been doing them monthly anymore is because there's just not that many good characters. The updates don't have a lot of meta-shifting abilities, meta-shifting characters, etc. Game modes. They did bring back zombie survival, but most of the same characters are still really good for it, with the exclusion of a couple of new moves. I mean, we have had some nice meta characters like Mephisto, but that's kind of in between a lot of mid. So I'm gonna do my best here to rapid fire through. We're gonna try to re-rank some characters that have been ranked recently from last time, and maybe have their value, you know, reassessed, reappropriated. No, that doesn't make any sense. Anyways, we'll start with Ghost Rider. Thankfully, he gets out of seasonal hell. He no longer has a seasonal uniform. He still has a lot of PvP value, probably even more than before because of the iframe on his fourth skill. Still hits hard, still has a lot of damage for PvE, still a very good tier 4 striker, but now he has additional PvP value. His PvE value didn't really go up, but the PvP did. And so I think he still squarely deserves to be, due to his dual value in PvE and PvP, squarely deserves to be at the top of high meta. I don't think he's quite still ready to conquer the beyond meta category just because he doesn't move PvP like that, but he is doing really well in Team Battle Arena. I've been utilizing him. A lot of the top players have been utilizing him. So if you're looking for ways to beef up your TBA roster, your Team Battle Arena roster, Ghost Rider is very, very good. He checks pretty much every villain outside of Null with the proper supports and team-ups. So it is quite good as a, you know, a counter to Mephisto PvP, as a counter to Silver Surfer, as a counter to Carnage and other PvP characters that get put up there. So that's very, very good. It's just that he kind of has an obvious counter if you just put him against heroes, because then he loses a lot of his oomph. Dr. Voodoo gets a tier 4, which is nice, but he doesn't need the tier 4, so we're not going to be giving him that new tag. He still has a good lead. He still has that, or he has that additional support now with Universal Allies, which is actually quite useful for PvP. So I would say, like, he's a lead support meta, I would say. But I don't know if that really does him justice. I don't know. I think it's fine. I think you can also use him as a DPS, especially for things like Dispatch. So I would probably want to put him in, like, low meta. But I think some people would disagree with that. But I don't really care. So that's what I'm going to do. Is he better than Thor? Is he more useful than Thor? I don't know if he's more useful than Thor. I think at the bottom of low meta is... Yeah, that's a tough one. He's very useful for PvE and PvP. It's just that he's not the main... He's not the star of the show. He's not the main guy. Is he more useful to my roster than Doctor Doom? Probably, to be honest. He's definitely more useful than all these guys. I mean, aside, I think Loki has to lose some points at this point. He's only available for 1 day of ABL. I think this has to be how you do it. And you may even say that Thor... No, Thor's still really good just for one thing. Yeah, I think that makes sense. I think this is a fair ranking for him right now. Juggernaut gets a tier 4. Juggernaut gets a new uniform. Juggernaut does not get, say with me now, iframe ignore. Yay! Or penetration. I can't remember which one. These days, it's one or the other. The devs just keep taking it away. I think it's actually penetration. He has iframe ignore. He doesn't have penetration. Yeah, okay, my bad. Doesn't have penetration. That's why I need that new penetration CTP, Alex. Or whatever, the iframe ignore CTP. I don't know. Anyways, Juggernaut sucks. Yeah, that's the unfortunate thing. He's just an AC goon. We should have a category for AC goons, to be honest. It's called usable. That's what it's called. It's called usable. It's the usable category of characters. He's probably at the top of usable. You know, we need to prune this tier list as well. There's too many characters that have climbed over the wall. I call this the wall. And yeah, he needs to be. They need to be pruned. But yeah, he's just not very good, unfortunately. Because he doesn't have penetration. The iframe ignore is nice. The tankiness is nice. He can tank a lot of hits, but then he just doesn't get any damage in. And so, yeah. Remember, he has the reflect reduction, which is really good for countering reflect characters. So if any time in the future he gets access to penetration, he should be quite nice. But until that day, he kind of just has to languish in mediocrity and AC memes. And then Black Knight got added as a tier 3 support character who basically has the same, not basically, he does have the same support as America Chavez, 40% HP to allies, and 50% reflect reduction. This is a very useful tool, particularly almost exclusively in PvP, to reduce the damage that your main DPS takes from reflect characters like Silver Surfer, Shia LaBeouf, Emma Frost, Shang-Chi, etc. Very, very good. He's a little bit better himself than America Chavez, but mainly he's useful because although he's premium and you could only unlock him for a short time for free, he doesn't require a uniform. So you can get access to that reflect reduction without having to pay for a new uniform for America Chavez, which I think is 1,050 crystals because it came out in 2022 with the Multiverse of Madness movie. So that's the main benefit, but otherwise he pretty much plays the same role in your team. He's just going to get nuked by whoever you're fighting against, and then his buffs are going to endure to allow him to, to allow the team to win. He's kind of a team player. So I do think he's a useful lead support. I don't know if I would call him meta. He is meta for PvP, but I think he's in kind of like the Groot side of things. Mainly he's meta when there's also Silver Surfers around, and especially particularly Silver Surfer. There's not that many reflect characters, so he doesn't have that much use. But I think he deserves to be somewhere around here. Again, this list needs to be pruned. Luke Cage, Jessica Jones, they don't deserve to be here anymore, to be honest. And Thing is barely hanging on as it is. But funny enough, we now get to the main star of the last couple of updates, Mephisto, a meta character. Wow. Mephisto is insane for PvE. He's also going to get a new facelift here because he gets transformed from Blast to Universal. So boom, he's now making his debut as a Universal. He is very, very easy to play, and so it's quite nice for him. He keeps the leadership. He has the revive. He doesn't need the tier 4, although it is very, very helpful because his tier 4 deals damage. He's still good without it. But he's absolutely fantastic for PvE. However, his PvP value is pretty low. Even with a maxed PvP build, he gets easily manipulated and dunked by Ghost Rider and any other hero-focused teams or any other teams that feature a hero-focused support like Shuri, Valkyrie, etc. He kind of gets wrecked. And again, Black Knight's sort of blurb highlights there's not a lot of reflect characters in PvP. There are like some. There's 3, which is not bad, but because the meta is not overrun with reflect, the fact that one of Mephisto's passives being that he reduces incoming reflect damage by 70% is just not quite as useful as you may imagine. Now, I think Mephisto is only like one support away or one change away from actually being a dominant PvP character, but I think for now the devs decided to just make him PvE. However, he is high meta. Absolutely, without question, high meta. It's tough because he's not necessarily as useful. I'm going to rank him above Ghost Rider, but hear me out. He's not as useful as Ghost Rider because Ghost Rider really plays double duty. He's like one of the best hybrid characters. He really plays double duty in PvE and PvP, more so I would say than Mephisto. However, Mephisto is overwhelmingly strong for ABX, ABL, World Boss Legend, and Zombie Survival. He is just absolutely insane for those game modes. So I actually he actually needs to be up here. Yeah, I just realized. Yeah, he's meta for he's high meta. He's beyond, basically, yeah, he's beyond meta. He listen, this phone is a year and a half old, I think, and it's already lagging because that's how powerful Mephisto is. Also because the devs have sort of abandoned optimizing certain characters. They're just like, particle effects. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, I think Mephisto deserves to be here. It's been a very long time since we've seen this category get updated. I honestly might have to take Doctor Strange down from beyond meta. Now that I'm talking about it, I actually think, sorry, buddy, your time has come. Mainly because Mephisto eats his lunch. It looks really funny here. It's 1 of each color and then 3 purples. Yeah, Mephisto just takes away a lot of stages from Doctor Strange. Storm also took stages from Doctor Strange. So he's still good. He's still very, very good. But he's just not, absolutely has a chokehold on ABX, ABL, Zombie Survival the way that he did 3 months ago, 2 months ago. So that's cool for Mephisto. And again, Doctor Strange still very good. And yeah, still a world away. Cyclops being in the same category as Doctor Strange. That's kind of crazy, Alex. What are you smoking? I don't know, man. I don't know. Listen, it is what it is. It is what it is. It's a controversial tier list. What can I say? And then Hellstorm got a tier 4. I don't know if that he needs his tier 4. He hits pretty hard at level 80. He doesn't really have anything. He doesn't have a support. He's not PvP. It's not a seasonal. He doesn't have a good leadership. But he just hits really hard. I guess he's kind of easy to play, but he's not even that easy to play. It's weird for me to glaze a character that has no tags like this, none of the little icons, but he's honestly pretty good. I kind of want to tier 4 him just for the memes, but also because he kind of blows, like he blows ass. It sounds bad. He like blows up the enemy's ass, I guess. I don't know. He does a lot of damage. He does a lot of damage. So I'm going to put him at the top of usable. And actually, I might have to move Molecule Man back to useful because he is seeing renewed value in Team Battle Arena. And we kind of saw that coming with the fact that you need 5 teams of 3. So then we come to the next update, the most recent one, the zombie update, which was pretty much dead on arrival. So zombies is a really accurate portrayal because 3 of the 4 characters are just pretty bad. Unfortunately, Shang-Chi at tier 4 does not become the reflect pylon that we had hoped him to be. So I would say he's useful in the way that Punisher is useful. So you can kind of interpret that as you will. Yeah, he's just not very good, unfortunately, and it's kind of sad, but that kind of just is what it is. He might be a little bit better than Punisher for PvP, but honestly, he's making the same impact, and that's kind of the depressing part. They kind of screwed up his sort of canceling thing, charging up his tier 3. They kind of screwed him up in PvE. The devs lately just don't have the same je ne sais quoi. They don't have the it feels like they understand the game, but they either don't understand it deeply enough or they're being intentionally obtuse about it. Like they're kind of like fumbling on purpose. It's kind of stalling out until they get to tier 5 and then they can actually start cooking with gas again. To be fair though, this does happen every couple of years in MFF, it feels like. Every few years, it just seems like the quality of reworks gets really bad, and we're like, oh man, this year sucks. And then the next year is usually really good, and it usually coincides with something big like tier 3, tier 4, tier 5. I think that's how it is as a MFF unofficial, self-appointed, psychotic MFF historian. Kamala Khan gets her tier 4, and she goes back to being Inhuman, but none of those things get represented on the tier list, so I'm just gonna tell you. And yeah, she has a pretty easy rotation. She hits pretty hard for PvE, but she's really kind of just whatever. And this mainly comes down to the fact that there's not enough places to use her. So justifiably, I can't put her anywhere higher than usable. Yeah, she is definitely usable. She is a lot better than some of these characters here, like Captain Falcon, Yelena, maybe even Daredevil, although it's different game modes, PvE, PvP. But there's just nowhere to use her. This is the issue. There's nowhere to use her. There's no game modes for Inhumans. There's no tags, no restrictions for Inhumans. So the Inhumans change was genuinely a debuff, a nerf for Kamala. So that's pretty depressing. And yeah, you kind of just have to roll with the punches, I guess, with her. And it's like the 3rd uniform in a row where they do her dirty. She's entering like beast territory for most done dirty uniforms by a character, and like Winter Soldier maybe, I don't know, a couple of characters in that category. Captain Marvel gets a zombie uniform, gets access to all the zombie tags, becomes a villain. We're super excited for her to finally be good in PvP again like she was in Infinity War, and it doesn't happen. The devs once again don't give her penetration. Let's go, dude, let's go. They do it again, bro. They just couldn't help themselves. They're like, oh, we just need to do this, man. We need to not give her penetration. We're just so happy with this. Anyways, she has some limited value in TBA from what I've heard from Mega Giga Whales, but that is going to be something that is probably a pipe dream for most people watching and listening because you need absolutely maxed out builds. You're probably going to need a Brilliant Liberation on Weapon Hex. Of course, you need Weapon Hex's zombie uniform. Of course, you need her tier 4. Then you also need Captain America tier 4. You need him with a Brilliant Egg. And then you need to hit Captain Marvel probably with a Brilliant Authority. And it's kind of like a stall team. But it can work if you dodge, obviously, Null, Sentry, Wolverine, Adam Warlock, Silver Surfer, and Ghost Rider. If you can dodge all those teams and you're fighting like a Shala Ball, Emma Frost type of shit, it can work. So that's cool, I guess. It's super duper niche and extremely expensive. You know where she's going, boys. Usable. Yay! It's kind of sad to put her in the same category as Hellstorm But genuinely, what are you gonna do, bro? What are you gonna do? They made her worse for PvE, and her PvP value is negligible, or it's a dice roll because you're just praying that she pops her 4th skill when they don't have any kind of immunity or immunity or invincibility or shield up, because she can't penetrate. She can't even penetrate shield, bro. Some characters have a 20-hit barrier. Yeah, kiss that 4th skill goodbye. Anyways, good luck next year or next decade, Carol Danvers, when you get another uniform that still doesn't recognize your PvP value. Captain Marvel goes in the category we were just talking about, memeing about with Kamala, Captain Kamala Khan, and Winter Soldier and Beast. Anyways, Scarlet Witch, meta, turns into a villain, absolutely goated with the sauce, hits harder, easier to play, just overall very, very good. Eats Jean Grey's lunch in a lot of ways, so I kind of think Jean Grey needs to go down here, and then Scarlet Witch needs to go up. And I think that is what it ought to look like for PvE for the Universals. And then we come to the recently minted seasonal uniforms for Miles Morales and Medusa. Sadly, I have to put these tags next to these two characters. Miles does get a pretty healthy upgrade. I would say at this point he is high meta. He's certainly at least as valuable to your roster as Rogue, if not more valuable. But in general, the speed class has been struggling to find value this entire year. The devs just don't know how to build the speed class, or don't like the speed class, or a combination of the two. Perhaps they forgot the speed class exists. But yeah, so him being up there doesn't mean all that much, just because we haven't seen anything in this category for ages, and a lot of it's just been bad, or it's just been support only. I think at this point I would even say Miles Morales is more useful than Spider-Man. He's probably more useful than Deadpool. Deadpool is seeing a bit of reduced value in TBA, so I would even argue that you could take Deadpool and Spider-Man out and put them in low meta. It can get really bleak for the speed types if you're being super duper honest and blunt. But for now, we'll leave this until I do the great tier list apocalypse, where we just move everyone that way, and all your favorites get nuked into the ground. And then Medusa, yeah, don't tier 4 her, guys. She's a support only. It was a meme. I apologize if anyone got baited by that yesterday, but the hair is looking normal now that it's dry and sort of, you know, a normal amount of frizziness instead of 0. Anyways, yeah, Medusa's a good support. She looks really cool. She doesn't hit very hard, so she's just a support and a lead. But the Inhumans have nothing right now, so part of her support doesn't matter. Don't you just love that when they just give you, like, they gave you kind of like an unfinished support character, because now they have to add a bunch of Inhumans, otherwise Medusa's irrelevant. Now, there is a possibility, not to FOMO you guys, but I just want to put the goose in the gander, whatever that means, that Medusa may be heralding, not a Galactus epic quest, but an Inhumans epic quest. I know we haven't talked a lot about this. We talked mostly about the Squadron Supreme epic quest, and I think that one still has the highest odds. I would place that at like a 70-75% chance that we get Squadron Supreme. But then I think there's like a 23% chance that we get an Inhumans epic quest, because in this last update, we've had 2 new Inhumans. We had Kamala being moved to Inhuman, and we had Medusa getting a seasonal. That's unusual. If you consider that there's only about 10 Inhumans in the game, and there's almost 300 characters, so they represent an extremely small amount of the roster. And for 2, so like for 10% of the Inhumans to get reworks in the last update, when they only represent like 1%, 2% of the, whatever, 3% of the roster, is very unusual. That could be heralding, that could be hinting at an Inhumans epic quest, which would then be like, oh no, I should have got the best Inhumans buff, but it's a seasonal uniform and I'm from Coney Island. Yeah. On the other hand, there's a 2% chance that we get a Galactus epic quest. Okay, that's where that joke comes from. That's why I said 23. Anyways, we're going to put her in lead support meta. No, we're not. We're going to put her in lead support. I guess Angela is going to get rejected. Yeah, Angela's going in the dirt here, bro. Yeah. Angela, I think, is just disappearing into the void of behind the wall. And yeah, that's about it. So that is how the tier list shakes out. As you can see, not a lot happening for a lot of the classes, particularly speed and combat. Those two classes, those two whatever typings have been pretty neglected for this year, with the lion's share, the majority of buffs coming for the blast and universal class typing. That being said, hit me up in the comments down below. Let me know what you think of the tier list. Thank you so much for watching. Smash the like if you're enjoying the content, and I will see you in the next one. Take care.